this video, we're going to look at how we can use value-based conditional formatting to highlight specific criteria in our worksheets. For example, Rowan would like to identify the 5 lowest incidents of core waste production. We're going to select the data, come to conditional formatting, and come to top-bottom rules. These basically allow us to select a top or bottom band within our data. We want the bottom 10 items, but we're not locked into 10. We're going to actually make that 5. By default, it shows as red fill with dark red text, but there are other presets you can choose from, and if you don't like any of them, you can come to custom format and define your own. We're just going to go for a green fill and say OK. Very easy to apply, and if our data changes, so if I make this 0, you'll see the conditional formatting immediately responds. I'm going to undo that change, Ctrl-Z, and we're back. Now, one problem that can creep into our data that can be a real issue is duplicate values. Conditional formatting can help us identify any duplicates. So, for example, I'm going to select my states or territories, and I'm going to come to conditional formatting, come to highlight cell rules, and here you'll see you get a really rich set of options. We're going to click on duplicate values near the bottom. And oh dear, we do have duplicates. That could have been really embarrassing. I'm going to select from B10 all the way to J10, because that's my duplicate, and I'm just going to press delete. Easy fix. Now let's look at something even more specific. So I'm going to scroll down. Rowan wants to identify all the recycling rates that are below 48%. So with selecting our recycling data, come to conditional formatting, come to highlight cell rules, we're going to choose less than and type 48% and click enter to apply. So we have quite a lot of options there, and they're very quick and easy to apply. There is one potential downside with the one we've just used. If Rowan decided he wanted to see all the recycling rates below 50%, he would need to go and change the conditional formatting. Now, in this particular case, he's absolutely certain it'll always be 48%, so it's not a concern. But sometimes we want the conditional formatting rule to be based on a value that's in our worksheet. This, first of all, documents it better, but also makes it far more interactive. So here's an interesting example. Rowan has included a map in the data and a drop-down list showing all the states and territories. You may recall from the previous course, we can create a drop-down list using data validation. If he selects a different state, he wants the cells behind the map to highlight in a different color. So you'll see we've now highlighted the Northern Territories region. He wants to do this using conditional formatting. Let's start by moving our map out of the way so we can actually see the cells behind. We've actually labeled each of the cells. What our conditional formatting needs to do is to check if the label above the cell we want to highlight is equal to the selection, then we're going to change the color. But for this, we're actually going to need a formula. So make sure you've got O11 selected, come up to conditional formatting, and we're going to come down to new rule. The new rule dialog gives us complete creative control over our conditional formatting. So we could define our own 2-color scale, we could define our own data bar, but what we're most interested in here is using a formula. So we're going to click use a formula, and then we're going to click into the formula bar. Now, all formulas begin with an equals, so we're going to type equals, and then we're going to select O10. And we want to check if this cell contains the same value as K1, but you'll notice it's put an absolute cell reference in, and we don't want that because in a moment we're going to copy this format to the other cells. So I'm just going to press F4 3 times to turn that off. And now I'm going to type my equals, and I'm going to check if this cell is equal to K1. And here we do want the absolute cell reference. We don't get a default format, so we're going to click our Format button, and you can change your number format, font, border, or fill, or all of the above. we're going to make it any color in the top row, sticking with our color palette, and we're going to say OK, and OK again. And it has now changed. I don't really want to repeat that 7 times though, and I don't have to. You can copy conditional formatting, and you can do it using conventional copy-paste methods, but there's a really efficient option called the Format Painter. So making sure you've still got O11 selected, we're going to come up to Format Painter. One click gives you one copy. Double click gives you multiple copies. So we're going to double click. And when you bring your cursor back into the workbook, you should see a paintbrush attached. Now we're going to apply it to our Queensland cell, so that's going to be P11. And it doesn't change because this value is still NT, but we'll check it very shortly. Now Western Australia actually straddles 2 cells, so we're going to click on N15 and then drag up to N14. Similar for South Australia, and just complete the rest. When you're done, click to turn the Format Painter off or press Escape. Now let's put our map back into place, just making sure that the black circles line up nicely with the white circles, and you can use your arrow keys to budge it into position if you need to. Let's go and test it. So coming back to our drop down, I'm going to change NT to WA. That worked very nicely. Let's try another one. Tasmania. Fantastic. So we've looked at quite a few options for adding conditional formatting. There's some great, efficient built-in options, but if you want real creative control, you can add your own conditional format using a rule. In the next video, we're going to look at how we can apply conditional formatting to an entire row, and we're also going to introduce macros to make our workbooks even more interactive and automated.